Today we're going to take a look at Trifecta Nutrition, another meal delivery service I've had my eye on for the past couple months. Luckily, I was able to take advantage of a special offer they had at the time. They might still have it available, but it was, I want to say it was like 50% off, plus you got a free pound of chicken breast, which was, 4 total servings. I ended up choosing the clean meal plan, and I chose my meals instead of letting them automatically do it. We ended up with 14 meals at about 8 to 9 ounces per, and anywhere between about 500 to 590 calories. Without the discount code, the clean meal plan with the 14 meals runs you about $220-ish, $10 of that being for the shipping. With the code, I was able to get that for about $120. That's with shipping. And that includes the free pound of chicken as well. Right off the bat, the first difference I noticed when it comes to Trifecta comparative to the other meal plans we've checked out is just the packaging. The packaging has got like a little bit of a plate slash bowl here with a vacuum seal on top of it. Now, for me personally, this is the worst packaging of any company we've run across. The packaging is a pain in the ass to deal with. Depending on who you are, it can be very hard to even peel this off or get a vent hole made. Any sauce, any cheese, anything like that in the meal, at least half of it ends up stuck on this vacuum seal. It is a horrible packaging idea. I don't know who in their right mind ever thought this was a good idea. I don't see the benefit of it. I don't see why you would go with this sort of packaging over anything like we've seen before. When you put it in your fridge and you try to stack them, as you can kind of see, it's not a flat surface. So you have like this teeter-totter in your refrigerator. Anytime you try to pull one, you've got multiple falling down. And this is the first box I've not shown. I actually had to throw it away. They were thrown around upside down. Like, I've not gotten a delivery that was that just beat up, banged up in any of the meal delivery services we've gone to. The damage to the packaging isn't Trifecta's issue, but the fact that these containers are not made to ship well is their issue, especially when your company revolves around, I don't know, shipping meals to people. Like, you would want them, in my opinion, to firmly stack on one another and be able to easily stack and then fill up a box side by side. Here's their packaging. They've got very detailed nutritional values on the back of it, detailed ingredients list. They've got air fried, in the oven, microwave. The packaging looks okay. It's got an all right design to it. The container here is actually rather firm. If you're a poor person like my mom was, you'll probably save these and reuse them a little bit. But they've got all the macros on the front. This meal has actually got 450 calories, 32 grams of protein, 12 carbs, 31 fat. This is actually one of the 11-ounce meals. It's got a little bit more food than average. You can kind of see like how monstrous these carrots are. Just to give you a look at what one of their meals looks like, cooked and open. This is, try not to dump shit all over the place. This is the Tex-Mex chicken. I got a puddle of water right there, so I can't really show you anymore. There's the ridiculously thick carrots. That's what I was talking about with the cheese. All of that is just a big glob of cheese. The chicken is nothing too fancy, but look how thick that carrot is cut. Look how thick that carrot is cut. That is inedible, bro. That is inedible. That is thicker than my fucking pinky, bro. That is unacceptable. If anybody from Trifecta sees this, fix your fucking carrots, bro. You look like a joke. And this is the small little cup of guacamole that comes with it. You kind of can't see because of the green screen. But the mild guacamole, I have to say, was actually pretty damn good. Gluten-free, vegan-friendly, 0 trans fat, 2 ounces of guacamole. It's not bad. It's one of the better things they give you in any of the meals. For some reason, they have decided to cut the carrots at a minimum of a 1/4 inch thick. And even on the stalk end, I've gotten the stalk end of the carrot, and I'm not even joking, it'd be a 1/2 inch thick. And this is an issue because, yes, the chicken, everything else is pre-cooked, but 90% of the vegetables in any of the meals, pick any meal, and the vegetables are raw. My issue is if everything else is cooked and you have a 1/4 inch thick carrot that is raw, you're not throwing this in a pan for 3 minutes and it cooking that carrot thoroughly and all the way through. And if it is, you've got it at such a high temperature, it's most likely burnt or ruined the rest of the meal. So that's my main issue, is it doesn't matter if you microwave it 3 minutes, put it in the oven for 10 minutes, air fry it for 8 minutes, or throw it in the pan for 3 minutes. To cook the raw vegetables, especially ones that are literally carrots this thick and that big around, it's going to take more time than it is to cook the rest of the meal. And for me, that just defeats the whole damn purpose of all this, because for me, yeah, air fryer is good, but it's all about saving time. I don't want to have to peel this off, scrape the cheese and sauce off the vacuum seal, dirty up a pan, sit for, however many minutes, stirring, like, I'll just cook a meal. I'll just cook a better meal for cheaper than what this is. So that's kind of one of the things that frustrated me right off the bat. Raw ass vegetables, especially the carrots, like thick as your finger, like inedible. I've just been giving them to the dogs for dog treats. They love them. For me, quality wise, the ingredients were fine. There were no major glaring issues about poorer quality or low quality ingredients, etc. The ingredients were fine. The issue is not a single drop of love or consideration or caring was put into any of these meals on any level, like at all. Now, from what they're advertising leads you to believe you're going to get the quality, the flavor, etc. when they compare themselves side by side to Factor. When you actually get what you've ordered, it's so far from what you were led to believe it would be. It makes this by far the most disappointing meal delivery service that we've tried. Right off the bat, we thought Flex Pro meals were a bit scammy, so it's not like a disappointment with what we got from them, because it's a bit of what we expected. But when you have a company that goes out of their way to advertise quality, etc., goes out of their way to have these, popular influencers that you feel you can believe, and then they deliver such a subpar product, like that, to me is just, it's just disingenuous, and it's just disrespectful. They have no care, consideration for you or any dollar you have or that you plan on spending, especially for $220 a week for 14 meals. Like, that's insane. I can literally go to the store and buy and cook for $200 and some a week. I could go and cook gourmet meals myself if I wanted to spend that much money a week. On average, if I go to the grocery store, I might spend $200 over 2 weeks, maybe. So that for me is just staggering. Now, again, looking back at their advertisements and how they portray themselves as a company, you're expecting high class, high quality, professionalism. But for me personally, I went to the website and it reminded me of something from like GeoCities back in like 2003. You'd link your MySpace to it. Like, it just seems really out of date. Like, yeah, it's functional and you're able to like put your order in, etc. But there's just something about the site that seems a bit off to me, especially when you look at some of their advertising campaigns and how they just kind of like hold themselves. Now, I will say something that's a little bittersweet is they don't make it impossible for you to cancel like Flex Pro meals. They don't demand like X amount of week commitment, etc., like Flex Pro meals. And there aren't any hidden fees for canceling, etc. But they do make it a bit more difficult to cancel than I feel like it should be. For me, you should be able to go to the site, hit account, and you should have a button there. You could just hit boom, cancel, we're done, ain't gotta worry about it. Now with Trifecta, it might be because of the age of their site, it might be on purpose, but you have to email them or physically call them on the phone and talk to a person for them to cancel your orders, cancel your account, etc. Now, some people might be like, oh, it's no big deal. But the way I look at it, that's just one more road bump to keep you from canceling. That's a little bit more difficulty in the process that just might be that last little bit to keep you from canceling or to make you miss a deadline. And, oh, well, you can cancel, but we've already shipped your order. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I'm not going to say it's scummy. I'm not going to say they're doing it purposefully, but just something about the way they have it set up for you to cancel your orders. It's just, why can't I go to my account and just press a button? Few meals in, and I can tell you right now, overall, it is not worth the price, even with the 50% discount, and the pound of free chicken. Like I was saying earlier, for $220 a week, you can go and live like a king. There is no reason for anybody to be wasting their time or money on this company, in my opinion. You can go out and you can find cheaper alternatives that have higher quality food, more meals, larger meals, and just better tasting, higher quality. Like you could go out there, Factor, Cook Unity, like there are so many other options out there that are cheaper and are so much better than what Trifecta offer you. Don't let their advertising fool you, especially because I've seen them multiple times, like take shots at Factor and compare side by side their shit to Factor's, and it's no comparison. Factor blows them out of the water without even a second of hesitation. But the quality isn't there, the flavor isn't there, the value isn't there. There is no reason to support a company like Trifecta. Don't let their advertising and influencers fool you. There is no quality here to be had. Out of the 14 meals, a couple of which I got 2 of, so we're going to go over the meals I've got. First, we're going to start off with the special offer, 1 free pound of chicken. Along the lines we've said with a few other companies, the chicken breasts seem a bit too processed, a bit too perfectly shaped, the grill marks, etc. Like it's one of those I mentioned prior. Like you just imagine a conveyor belt and there's just a dude with like a little like heating iron with just grill marks, and he's just stamping raw chicken breasts as they come by. It really didn't have any flavor. It had a weird muskiness to it. Now, this was only really noticeable when I microwaved it, and the packaging, it's just like sealed in plastic with like the water and chicken juices, etc. So getting it out, you got to stab it and drain it. It's wet, saturated chicken breast. It was just off. Like when you heat the chicken up, there's just a musk that comes off of it that is honestly really off-putting, even for me. There's no real flavor attached to the chicken breast itself. It's packaged airtight and air sealed in a small container that has its own watery juices in it. Like I said, can be an absolute pain in the ass to open. I did microwave it, and I'm sure the chicken would be much better if you did throw it in the air fryer or pan fried it, etc. That's probably true. Hopefully that would cook some of that muskiness out of there. But as always, I microwaved it. Obviously, I tried it plain just to see what the chicken tastes like. And when it kind of was inedible and a bit hard to eat because of that, like, you're putting it up to your face, you get this smell, like, and again, it's not like repulsive, like rotting or anything, but it was just this weird muskiness that came from it. So I just pulled it out of the microwave. I got some Sweet Baby Ray's and just... Not sponsored, but Sweet Baby Ray's, it's good for you. That right there will help with any of the chicken you get from Trifecta, trust me. So I threw a bunch of Sweet Baby Ray's on it both times I had it, and I mean, let's be real, it's like a chip and dip, you know what I mean? You can have a plain bland chip, you dip it in a really nice dip, like it's gonna be good. So the barbecue sauce really brought it back, and let's be honest, that says more about the sauce than it does the chicken. And yeah, I mean, hell, I'll take any excuse to drink half a bottle of barbecue sauce, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one good thing about it. Now we're going to look at the actual meals themselves. First, we're starting out with the classic chicken club with seasoned chicken thighs, cauliflower, almond slivers, pesto sauce, cheese, bacon, and mixed peppers. As I said before, anything with cheese, anything with sauce, the majority of it is going to be stuck, whether you take the entire vacuum seal cover off before you microwave it, or if you just ventilate it. Either way, sauce, cheese, etc. is going to be stuck to it. It's a pain in the ass to get it off, because where it's airtight vacuum sealed, it's not a smooth flat surface you can just scrape off. Like, it is an utter pain in the ass. My first impression looking at it was that it looked like chopped dog food, and even to me it didn't seem very appealing. It very much seemed like each ingredient was prepared separately and then thrown together, instead of like it being prepared as one meal, if that makes sense. This is something I ran into so many times with meals from Trifecta, is they must have got some sort of fucking deal on nuts, almond slivers in particular, because they're just throwing almond slivers and shit. It has no, like, why are there almond slivers here? And a problem that happens is when they throw a fucking half-pound of almond slivers in this meal, it's just, and then they vacuum seal it, it just clumps. You just have these massive clumps of like almond slivers. So it's not even like a little sliver, but like 15 of them stacked on top of each other to make like an almond and a half. Like it's so weird. The pesto sauce was fine. It was probably the only redeeming factor when it came to the meal. The chicken thighs, they again seemed separately prepared. They didn't really have any flavor to them. They were fine. They were a little bit tough where they were microwaved. And like I said earlier, the cheese was just stuck to the packaging. And then similar to the almond slivers, you had like 4 or 5 little like bacon bit type pieces of bacon that like they just kind of threw over in a corner, vacuum sealed, and then you just have like a glob of bacon. Yeah, if it was cooked properly, who doesn't like a glob of bacon? Like the cauliflower were pieces of whole cauliflower, and it was so like mashed and compressed when it was vacuum sealed, and had like a piece of bacon here, 14 almond slivers there. I honestly couldn't even tell what it was until after I ate it and then went back and read the ingredients list. Next are the marinara meatballs over creamy cauliflower rice. It's got seasoned ground beef meatballs with creamy cauliflower rice, green beans, and a marinara sauce with cheese. As always, every single bit of that cheese was stuck right on top of that vacuum sealed container. And these meatballs, boy, let me tell you, it was like eating flavorless little cannonballs. They were horrible. Massively disappointing. I can tell you it looked much more appealing than it actually was. They seemed like they were overcooked before you even warmed them up, microwaved them, threw them in an air fryer, etc. I can't stress this enough. The flavor was non-existent and lacking in every part of this meal. The cheese might have been good, but even my fat ass isn't gonna like lick the fucking wrapper. But yeah, the cauliflower rice was just saturated with water. It too had this weird like musk, like almost edamame style taste to it, like just a really off-putting like dirt musk to it. In every dish that had the cauliflower rice, this was an issue. Cauliflower rice, and this in particular, was more like eating soup than rice. And I'll tell you right now, Trifecta's green beans are the worst, most flavorless, disgusting, low quality green beans I have ever had in my life. There was only one meal that had edible green beans, and it's because they were literally coated and saturated in Parmesan cheese and Alfredo sauce. And I mean, what can't you cover in Parmesan cheese and Alfredo sauce and it be good? You know what I mean? There are a few things that you wouldn't need if they were covered in Parmesan and Alfredo sauce. So let's be real. The green beans were limp, waterlogged, tasteless, no crunch, no nothing to them. The cheese and the sauce weren't horrible. The marinara, like there was a little bit of cheese at the bottom of the meatballs, and the marinara sauce in of itself wasn't bad. It probably was the best thing in the meal, to be honest. The sauce and cheese weren't bad, but I had to take the meatballs and like rub them against the fucking air vacuum sealed packaging to even be able to taste them. Yeah, for me, it's just poor planning, poor execution, and just a poor product overall. Now we're going to take a look at the brisket burrito with guacamole, peppers, and cheese. Luckily, this is a burrito, so we actually got to try some of the cheese because it was inside the fucking burrito. But this was one of the smaller meals. It did have the flavor and taste and stuff like that. The guacamole was surprisingly good. But the burrito itself, the brisket, was a much lower quality cut of meat. The burrito was maybe 3.5 inches. Again, I think it might have been 6 to 8 ounces. Like, in all honesty, for any real person, that was more of a snack than a meal. It wasn't very filling. Super simple, small meal that only consisted of the burrito itself and a little cup of guacamole sauce. Stereotypically with burritos, you get a lot of good bites and a lot of bad bites. You don't get that like perfect bite every time. Or you'll get to one end of the burrito and it's just nothing but just tortilla and that wasn't an issue. I don't know if it was where it was smaller or what, but every bite was just as good as the previous bite. None were really better than the other. From head to toe, it was full of beef or full of brisket. So overall, you can't really complain, especially compared to some of the meals we've tried up to this point. Yeah, this was easily the smallest meal we've had by far, portion wise, but up to this point, flavor wise, quality wise, it's the best. Initially, it's easy to kind of dip the burrito in the guacamole, but when you start like getting halfway through it, it can be a bit more of an issue. You know, you can like fucking take a bite, lick the guacamole, get it, spread it on. There's a lot of ways you can get around that, but just something, I'll cut that out. I don't want people to imagine my ass over here licking a fucking guacamole container. Now we're going to talk about the meal we looked at earlier when we were talking about the packaging. The Panang chicken curry with seasoned chicken thighs and curry sauce with cauliflower rice, broccoli, and carrots. As I mentioned earlier, we microwaved them, so the chicken thighs were a bit tough. They were most definitely the shining star of this entire meal, by far. The meal as a whole was really watery and just oversaturated. The curry sauce was like non-existent. It was more like food coloring than actual spices or flavor added to the meal, which was a bit disappointing because honestly, blue, green, purple, red, yellow, I've never had a curry I don't like. So it's a bit sad to have one that's so weak. Calling it a weak or a mild curry is a hell of an understatement, honestly. Like, it just kind of, there was no real curry flavor with this dish at all. The broccoli was raw, the carrots were raw, but the broccoli, about 3 minutes in the microwave where they did cut the florets down, it was much more edible than the carrots. The carrots, like I said previously, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch thick carrots, raw as hell. I don't know, like, there is no quality assurance going on at Trifecta, because whatever dumbass looked at those carrots and were like, it's good to go, fire that idiot, because he's stupid and he's making your company look stupid. Because I'm about to pull this fucking thing open and show you how thick, look, you can almost see how thick that carrot is right there. Look at this. It's unreal, bro. That is literally 1.5 inches across and 1/4 inch thick. And that's supposed to cook from raw in a microwave in 3 minutes. That's not how the real world works. So, like, cut it in quarters. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't, like, for me, it just shows a lack of caring, and you just don't give a fuck. Give me my money, here's your shit, fuck off. Like, if you went to a restaurant and you ordered something that had carrots and they took a whole carrot and cut it into 4 pieces and put it on a fucking plate, are you gonna be cool with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I see that and I don't feel like anybody gives a shit there. Because if you gave a shit, somebody would have caught that. If you're checking your food, if somebody's spot checking shit, somebody would have caught that. Like, it gets to me. It gets to me because I like carrots. I like cooked carrots. Good cooked carrots are delicious as fuck, bro. Like I said earlier, a lot of these ingredients seem separately prepared and just thrown together to make other dishes. This is an issue we've ran into with other companies as well. And the reason I say this is because, again, with the cauliflower, well, the carrots, perfect example. They're all way too fucking thick. They're all raw. With the cauliflower rice, it's the same thing. Overly saturated, watery, a weird musky, like dirty umami style flavor to it, like just off-putting. The only way you could eat the cauliflower rice and it even be considered edible or worth eating was getting a bit of it with a piece of the chicken thighs. That's it. Overall, very disappointing. Very disappointing because, like I said, I love curries. This is one of the meals I looked at and thought, like, damn, that's going to be a home run. Wrong. Now we're going to take a look at the tomatillo turkey casserole with seasoned ground turkey, green beans, salsa verde, mushrooms, bacon, and a pepper jack cheese. Well, per usual, the cheese wasn't really a part of the meal because it was stuck on the vacuum seal. But overall, I have to say, I like tomatillo. I like tomatillo salsa, things like that. I didn't get much of a tomatillo from it. I didn't get much of a casserole from it, but the ground turkey, yes, the turkey was just ground turkey meat, was a bit dry, a bit grainy, but I have to say, overall, it actually had flavor comparative to some of the meals we've tried earlier, and the turkey was good. There, again, no real casserole about it. I don't know where or why the heck. Oh, we're just throwing some shit in a container. Yeah, casserole. Call it a casserole. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I said earlier, I didn't notice any verde sauce. I didn't notice any tomatillo, anything. I didn't notice any of those flavors in the meal whatsoever, which is a bit of a disappointment because I love tomatillo sauces and I love salsa verde. Salsa verde is probably my, other than like a corn salsa verde, you know what I'm saying? That's up in my top 3, bro. It's like top 2. The mushrooms, man, I have never had mushrooms be like leathery. Like it was literally like, again, it's another one of these items that seemed overcooked before you even got your hands on it. Like it was genuinely like I love mushrooms, but it was like chewing a piece of leather. Like you're just fucking going to town on it for like 2 minutes on a piece of a mushroom that big. And per usual, the green beans were awful. Fucking limp, water saturated noodles of nastiness, just sadness in a fucking bowl. The turkey was really good flavor wise compared to anything we've had up to this point. Quality wise, I mean, you can go get higher quality ground turkey from Walmart, like for $3 a pound or something. So like, it was like when we're talking about ground meat, it was really fine, like more like obviously it wasn't the size of sand, but more of like a pile of flavored sand in the corner than like what you would think of like when you think of ground beef or ground turkey, you know, like, or like if you imagine like Hamburger Helper and what the ground beef and that looks like, it's like alien when compared to like the sawdust that this turkey looked like. But it was good. It had the flavor overall, and again, compared to the other meals we've tried up to this point, that's all you can ask for. Now we have another turkey meal. Now we're going to look at the spiced turkey with creamy cauliflower rice, broccoli, and tree nuts. Yes, tree nuts. Again, the turkey was the shining star of this dish. But like I said previously, it seemed like the identical ground turkey that we had in the previous meal, which leads me to believe that everything is just cooked separately and thrown together in whatever way they can get it to fit. Same with the cauliflower rice, the same muskiness. Obviously, you know, like we said with the chicken, mixing it in with the ground turkey really helped it out a lot. The spiced ground turkey really like overpowered that like muskiness of the cauliflower. And this is something I've not mentioned yet, but I always give companies credit when they use broccoli or cauliflower florets over like broccoli cuts. I think that is a major selling point for me personally. That just shows like quality over quantity, if that makes sense. Like, because yeah, you can save a shit ton of money if you're a meal delivery service if you just throw like some broccoli stems in there. I'll give them the fact that they at least use broccoli and cauliflower florets. I will give them that. But usually when people include broccoli florets, they fucking cook them, which Trifecta doesn't with any of their vegetables, ever, at all, at any point. Like I was saying earlier, man, they must have gotten some sort of like massive wholesale deal on almonds and tree nuts. I have never seen more almond slivers in my life. This meal was full of almond slivers, motherfucking peanuts, had walnuts and shit in it. Just a whole ass walnut sitting in, like, what? Who the fuck is eating ground turkey with just a walnut sitting, like literally a quarter-sized walnut just plopped in the middle? Like, what the hell's going on here, guys? Like, who the fuck, who is making these meals, dude? Oh, you know, we got us a deal on some almond slivers and some tree nuts, assorted tree nuts. Oh, we can make it work. Go on and buy them. Like, it's just like they never, the worst part about it is I like tree nuts. I like almonds. I like walnuts, but like they weren't incorporated in the meal. It's like, Oh, we made this, it's this. Well, we got a shit ton of almonds back there. Is there anything y'all can do with them? Yeah, give me a handful of them. And just fucking, just throw the shit on there. Hey, vacuum seal them up. We're ready to go. Like it just seems like an afterthought. Like they're not incorporated in any way when it comes to the flavors or the meal as a whole at all. It's just an afterthought. Like I said, hey, we got to use these some bitches. They're going to go expired next month. Like that's what it feels like. I might just be crazy and ranting here, but I don't know, man. It just bugged me. Like almond slivers and shit in places like and dishes and meals that they had no business being there, just out of place. Again, like you can tell they're not cooked with, especially depending on the meal, they're not cooked with the meal together. Now we're going to look at probably the most white trash meal they have available, the chicken and broccoli casserole with chicken breast, cauliflower rice, broccoli, and a cheese sauce. Per usual, sadly, half of the cheese sauce was stuck to the vacuum seal. This was definitely one of their less like extravagant meals. Like this is one they weren't trying to, puff their chest out with. They just had some chicken and some cheese laying around and just threw that shit together. And would you believe it? It worked. Like it's not the highest quality meal we've had so far by any means, but it really tickled that white trash, that inner white trash in me. Just was like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is with their use of the word casserole, but them calling this a casserole disrespects moms across the country. But that being said, this was easily, to this point, this was my favorite meal so far. There was just something about those little cubes of chicken breast covered in like coats of cheese, and then the cheese around the corners of the dish getting a little overcooked and like hard, not burnt, but like hard. You know what I'm talking about. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. It touched my inner white trash, man. Like this meal like really like reminded me of home. Yeah, the cheese sauce had just enough flavor to cover up the muskiness of the cauliflower. The chicken and the cauliflower combined with a little bit of the broccoli, which actually was cooked this time. It was really good. Like again, it's not the most extravagant meal. It's not the most high class or high end, flavor profile, but it's just some chicken, some cheese, and I mean, hell, it's pretty hard to fuck that one up. Next, we're gonna look at the teriyaki chicken with seasoned chicken thighs, Normandy vegetables, and a teriyaki sauce with, you guessed it, nuts. Again, with the nuts, too many fucking nuts and everything, nuts everywhere. These nuts, those nuts, got him. It's just enough. Like if you have a nut allergy, you need to make it like as crystal clear to them as possible, because these motherfuckers will kill you, bro. If you have a nut allergy, fucking buyer beware at Trifecta, my man, because you're gonna be getting literally a box of fucking almond slivers and tree nuts. Like I'm not even shitting you. Almond slivers stacked to the fucking moon, boys. Stacked to the moon. Once you dug through the crust of almond slivers and the fucking walnuts, this was, at this point, the best meal I had had. Overall, this is number 2, but this was the second best meal overall we've had. The chicken thighs, and they say, oh, it's seasoned chicken. They really didn't have, like you take the sauce off of them, they didn't really have any flavor or seasoning to them. But with the sauce, you get a little bit of like the vegetables, because I gotta say, in this one they had what was it? They had broccoli, some cucumber, shit like that. That actually was sliced thin enough to properly cook. So like you got a nice bit of the chicken, a nice bit of the sauce. It was fantastic. And like I said, we were lucky enough to get some semi-cooked vegetables as well. So it all worked really well together, and even better with that teriyaki sauce on top of it. I will say it's been a minute since I've had some like legit teriyaki. So that might be why this one hit the spot a little bit more than the other ones. It might have been like, how time makes the heart grow fonder, like where I hadn't had teriyaki in such a long time. Like any teriyaki sauce would have just been like, whoa, But I have to say, overall, the chicken teriyaki was very good. Very good. Again, this is more because of my trailer park trash, like white trash heritage. that just elevated this above all. But it's the chicken bacon primavera with seasoned chicken thighs, green beans, bacon, and Parmesan cheese in an Alfredo sauce. Now again, half the cheese, half the Alfredo sauce is stuck to the vacuum seal packaging. Big surprise. But other than that, I will say this was by far the best meal out of all the meals we've tried from Trifecta Nutrition. For me, it seems like the main key for Trifecta to have like a good dish is just the more cheese, the merrier. If they can have some like shredded cheese and a cheese sauce in that bitch, it's going to be good. Other than that, it's just going to be raw ass vegetables with some water in a bowl. And per usual, the same limp dick, watery green beans, you know, poor quality, you know, overall disappointing green beans. But if you were lucky enough to scoop them some bitches up with a bunch of cheese, a little bit of bacon, and some chicken, baby, let me tell you, you were on your way to fucking Flavor Town. I gotta say, like, it again, the Parmesan cheese, strong profile, the Alfredo sauce, like once you got all that together, it elevated those green beans up to where like you're eating them. You know what I mean? You're grabbing you're globbing all this shit together and you're taking bites. This dish was absolutely covered in cheese and Alfredo sauce from top to bottom, covered. It was the Alfredo sauce was so good with that Parmesan cheese. It was amazing. And in all honesty, the packaging said seasoned chicken thighs, but they were much more cubed, and like it felt much more like chicken breast than chicken thighs. Not that it really matters either way. Like we mentioned earlier with the bacon, it's in like a bacon bit style, but with the vacuum sealed packaging, it takes that and just condenses them down instead of allowing it to be incorporated and spread throughout the meal. I don't know if you've all have ever taken some bacon and dipped it in some Alfredo sauce with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, but it's pretty goddamn good. That might have been like the most pleasant mistake they've ever made. Yeah, let me tell you, if you get the opportunity to take bacon, roll it in balls, and then cover it in fucking cheese, you make the most of that opportunity. Now we're going to take a look at the last meal on our list, the Tex-Mex chicken with seasoned chicken thighs, cauliflower rice, green beans, cheese, and guacamole. Damn, sounds like everything they fucking make has cauliflower rice and green beans. Isn't that fucking wild? Per usual, the green beans, limp, waterlogged, disappointments. The cauliflower, musky, barely edible unless smothered in cheese or some other form of sauce. Luckily with this one, they put like the cheese down and then they stacked the carrots up so high that it pressed on the carrots and for once it actually didn't stick on the cheese or sauce. So you get a nice little glob of cheese in there, and if you're able to like put enough of that on the green beans and other stuff, they're edible. As mentioned before, the chicken thighs, they might be seasoned, but they're seasoned exactly like every time we've had them in every other dish. There's no difference in the taste, the texture, the flavor, the cut, nothing. It's identical pieces of chicken in every meal other than when it's chicken breast compared to chicken thighs. Like I said earlier, the only saving grace was just the sheer amount of cheese and guacamole that they gave you. Just like with the Primavera, there was enough cheese to cover up the taste of disappointment that comes in every Trifecta meal. That's going to do it for us when it comes to Trifecta. Overall, just a very, very big disappointment. From what they lead you to believe with their advertising when it comes to like the product you'll receive, the quality, etc., and what you actually get, there's such a difference between those. It should be criminal. For them to go out of their way to put their meals side by side to Factor and then try to shit on Factor, and then you get the meals from Trifecta, and out of 14 meals, 12 of them, half of the shit is stuck to the vacuum seal and isn't even edible. Like, I don't know, it's scamish. Like, you are not getting anywhere near the value you're paying from Trifecta in any form or fashion. And some people might disagree. Some people may have had different experiences with Trifecta. But for me, straight off the bat, just disappointment after disappointment with the, like I said, the damaging of the box and shit in transit is not on them. That happens. But the way they were packaged, the way they fit in your refrigerator, the thickness of the carrots, the uncooked raw vegetables, like the fact that every piece of chicken tastes like every other piece of chicken, the fact that out of 14 meals, literally 11 of them had cauliflowered rice and green beans. Like, there's no diversity, there's no flavor, taste, quality. There is nothing like that. There's nothing that Trifecta does that can compare in any form or fashion to Factor or Cook Unity. Factor gave me another 50% off where I canceled. Cook Unity gave me another 50% off where I canceled. I took both of those weeks, and then on Factor, I forgot to, it slipped my mind, I forgot to cancel, and they ended up just automatically sending me one. And I will say with Factor, when they automatically sent my meals and I didn't get to choose them out of like, what was it, like 18 meals, 16 meals, something like that, I literally got like 5 of one kind, 5 of another kind, and then like 3 of other kinds. Like, I only got like 4 different types of meals, and that was really like, that was disappointing. But again, that's not Factor's fault, that's my fault for being a jackass and not selecting the meals I wanted. Next on the list is something a little different. It's called Home Chef. It's like a pre-portioned meal kit that, like, you get a pan, everything's already like prepped and portioned out. You just pop the thing off, dump everything in there, throw it in the oven, and then boom. So there's a couple things we're going to try out. Again, if any of you guys have any cool ass promo codes or, you know, any other recommendations, just throw them down below. Another hint I'll give you guys before I go is Cook Unity did this, Factor did this, somebody else did this as well. Maybe it was actually Trifecta. When you use the codes to get the first week for 50% off, if you cancel after that week, give it like a week or two, and they will offer you another 50% off discount. I would definitely recommend doing that and taking advantage of that if you like Cook Unity and Factor, because both those companies did that like immediately for me. Appreciate you guys stopping by, hanging out. If you're still listening now, I appreciate it. We'll see you next time.